dear viewers, and welcome to RTV's English News Edition, the major stories. The head of state has returned to the capital today from Ankara. The United Nations votes on the resolution of Jerusalem, where Washington threatens. Thank you for joining us on our TV channel. The head of state, His Excellency İsmail Omar Guelleh, has returned today to the capital after an official visit in Turkey. During his visit, the head of state participated in an economic forum of business. And please note that a strong delegation accompanies President Guelleh during its visit to Turkey. And in Turkey, in an interview to the national press, the Minister of Health said that the head of state has been warmly welcomed to Turkey and in all the honors. He said that they had a fruitful meeting with their counterparts where an agreement on the construction of a hospital for children was signed. He has welcomed the good relations of cooperation between the two countries. President Guelleh was awarded an honorary doctorate by Turkey's Ankara Yıldırım Beyazıt University, addressing a ceremony at the University of Télé campus. And President Guelleh said cooperation between universities in Turkey and Djibouti was growing every day. At least 520 Djiboutian students are currently enrolled in Turkish universities, the president said, adding 13 of those were studying at the IBU. The university rector, Metin Dogan, said IBU was not only honoring the Djibouti president but also a strong politician and a person who has dedicated his life to the freedom and prosperity of his people.
Şimdi rektörümüz tarafından Djibouti Cumhurbaşkanı Sayın İsmail Omar Guelleh'e müjdeliyor. Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı, kıymetli başkanımız Sayın İsmail Omar Guelleh'e hediye takdim yapılacak. Diğerini Ankara Yıldırım Beyazıt Üniversitesi Rektörü Profesör Doktor Sayın Metin Doğan takdim edecek. Üniversitesi'nin tablosu.
The President of the Republic, His Excellency İsmail Omar Guelleh, in his speech, he first expressed his thanks to this distinction with humility. He expressed his commitments and actions. This recognition, he said, is a source of motivation to continue in the mission that are assigned to him, namely the development of Djibouti. It is deep conviction that led me, he said, to admit that the quest for progress is a long march. It can slow down, sometimes even stagnate, but in the long run, progress symbolizes the horizon, he said. A nation cannot give up progress, and that is the reason for my commitment. This horizon requires certain freedoms in the choice of friendship and partnerships, because in the search of progress, there is not only one path, one direction. The results can only be better, especially when added to this choice a common history and a friendship. On the first day of his visit, the President of the Republic, İsmail Omar Guelleh, and his host, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, had a first head-to-head meeting followed by an extended meeting between the two delegations, and at the end of this enlarged meeting, several agreements were initiated between the two parties. And as well as after the signing agreements, the two heads of state jointly held a press conference during which they reaffirmed their common desire to consolidate the relations of cooperation between the two parties. The head of state has, during his official visit of 48 hours, participated in the signing of a series of cooperation agreements in various strategic areas to enhance more bilateral relations between the two countries and Turkish people. During this visit, the head of state participated in an economic forum of business. Please note that a strong delegation accompanies President Anglais during his visit to Turkey. The two presidents have signed 4 cooperation agreements in different areas, including health, defense, and education. The president was held leading a delegation, among which were the health minister, finance, and businessmen. The President of the Republic, His Excellency İsmail Mirgeli, also visited the Turkish Parliament, seat of the legislative power, symbol of democracy and high place of political as well as in Turkey. The Parliament was one of the first targeted institutions during the failed coup attempt that took place in July 2016. The head of state took the opportunity to visit the wing of the Parliament at damage during the coup attempt of 2016. President Geli was welcomed on his arrival by the President of Turkish, simply President Gille was welcomed on his arrival by the President of Turkish President Ismail Kerhamen. The President of the Republic did not fail to express the desire to continue and deepen the bonds of friendship and cooperation as well as fraternity between the two brother people in that Turkey advances and develops further. On the silence of his visit to Turkey, the President of the Republic paid tribute to the founding father and first President of the Republic of Turkey. This museum, Nit Kabir, is named after the museum erected in honor of his historical figure named Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. He died November 10, 1938. He put an end to the Ottoman succession and made the old Ottoman Empire the modern Republic of Turkey. He made the Turk country and created strong links with Europe and many other. This museum attracts many tourists and is one of the most tourist sites in Turkey. And at the end of his visit to Turkey, a dinner was organized in his honor in honor of the personalities who accompanied him. A substantial dinner was offered to the President Erdogan's guests and the liquor is a spleen. The Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed received this Wednesday a Somali delegation led by Mr. Kamal Hassan, Minister of Investment, Planning and Economic Development. The Somali Minister thanked the Prime Minister for his warm welcome and availability and expressed his gratitude on behalf of the Somali government and the government of Djibouti and its people for their invaluable support and this presence of his government army in the country to fight against terrorism. With the presence of AMISOM, the security of the Somali capital is strengthened, allowing the Somali economy to perform better for over 25 years. He said tourism was at the heart of their discussion, but bilateral relations and economic development were also discussed. In conclusion, the Somali minister conveyed the message of gratitude and thanks to the Prime Minister to him and invited the Prime Minister to visit Hamar. Mr. Mumin Hassan Barre, Minister of Muslim Affairs of Culture, received yesterday in his cabinet Jamal Mohammed Hassan, Minister of Somalia for Investments, Planning and Development of the Federal Republic of Somalia, who stays in Djibouti in the context of the conference organized by the Heritage Institute from 19 to 21 December. The two ministers welcomed the excellence of exceptional relations between the two countries and the ways and means for their strengthening for the two peoples. Continuing with the national news, the Finance, General Economy and Planning Committee, chaired by the Honorable Sharmaki Musarri, met on Tuesday in the Parliament's Committee Room number 1 to consider the draft law of finance number 216 on the initial budget of the state for the financial year 2018. The government was represented by the Budget Minister, Bod Ahmed Robli, accompanied by senior officials from the various departments of the ministry. At the end of the work of this first day, the commissioners agreed to meet again this Wednesday to continue the study of the text. In addition, in accordance with the director of the head of the National Assembly, Muhammad Ali Hamad, the Finance Committee will also proceed to the hearing of four ministerial departments, namely the Minister of Finance, National Education, the Minister of Education, Higher Education, the Secretary of Youth and Sports, the Secretary of National Solidarity. So, among other things, that this is the first session. An opening ceremony of a monitoring center was inaugurated in Angaru in the Obok region. This center will allow the Guard to improve the surveillance of the sea of migrants who move frequently on this access to either Arab countries. In the ceremony was held in the presence of the Minister of the Interior, Hassan Umar, the head of a body of the Coast Guard raised by Colonel Wais Bokorei, the representative of the Embassy of the United States who financed the project, and representative of the authorities, local authorities, including the prefect and as well as the sub-prefect of Korangari. The army was represented by the Corps Commander, Colonel Douale. The Minister of Interior said that this region of Angaru is facing a lot of problems from immigrants coming from Ethiopia as well as other places who want to cross the sea from this region. And he said that we're happy to know that the center has been made here in this region because it will surely help the Coast Guards to secure this area and to better control immigrants. At the initiative of the delegate ministry in charge of decentralization, the telephone network in the interior regions was at the center of a consultation meeting between this department and the telecommunications ministry in charge of telecommunications to better meet the expectations of local authorities. The delegate ministry in charge of decentralization, Mohamed Aramis, and his communication colleague in charge of telecommunication, Abdi Yusuf Suge, co-chaired today in the conference room of the ministry in charge of decentralization a consultation meeting between the two ministries on the telephone network in the region of the interior. The Minister of Communication, Abdi Yusuf Suge, in his speech has promised to work closely with his decentralization colleague to meet the demands of our fellow citizens in rural areas in the field of rural telephony in charge of coverage of the network. And on the international news, the UN General Assembly will vote Thursday on a resolution condemning Washington's recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. The United States has threatened to write down the names of those who will vote for this resolution. Hindi Ibrahim has more to tell us.
The UN General Assembly is called to vote Tuesday on a resolution condemning the recognition by Washington of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, a vote that gave rise to a strong warning Tuesday of the United States. According to a diplomatic source, Washington has launched a lobbying campaign against members of the General Assembly who will vote in favor of the text, and the language is similar to that used by Nikki Haley on Monday to address his 14 Security Council partners who had approved the resolution presented by Egypt.
This is it for this news. Thank you for being with us on our TV channel and have a good night.